do we apply this to a tech company? How do we apply this to a public policy think tank or a school, for instance?
Right. Exactly. Or a prison. I was just speaking in a maximum security prison. And, of course, we're all in a prison of some kind, a prison of fear, of competition, of anxiety, of all the prisons that we create for ourselves in our mind, and they are all, of course, in our mind. The question is, how can we break out of that prison? And it's an essential exploration for all of us as human beings to find the pathway that leads to our greatest expression and our greatest ability to communicate and to enable other people to be the best they can be. And so my wife and I have developed some extraordinary techniques, if you like, to enable people to do that, and it's happening everywhere we go, and in whether it's orchestras or schools or businesses or prisons, it turns out that everybody has that capacity to break out of whatever the circumstances that is keeping them locked in place.
Is it essentially the idea that you and your wife have been developing? Is it essentially getting beyond barriers? Is that how you would...
Yes, I mean, that is the barriers of the mind, the conversations that we have in our head, the things that stop us from being expressive, being imaginative, creative, spontaneous, all the things that actually let the adrenaline of our minds flow so that we can create new solutions, new pathways, new ways of being. And that is the only way we're going to be able to get out of the prison of our present despair. You know, the world is in despair and anxiety about the loss of resources, the loss of business that everybody's feeling, the economic downturn. But what it turns out is that the circumstances are not what's important. What's important is what we say about it, how we develop a way of being in the face of circumstances, however terrible they may be. And the circumstances that we face may be bad, and they seem terrible at this moment in many cases, but it's nothing compared to what people have faced in wartime or in times of the Holocaust or whatever it may be. And so what we are looking at is the practices, and it is a matter of practicing the art of possibility, because like any art, it has to be practiced. It doesn't come just by itself. Like good weather, we just hope for the weather to turn. But that's not the way this works. This is a disciplined, rigorous practice which enables us to move always from the stuck position to the flowing position. And music is a wonderful metaphor for that, because music flows, it opens the heart and allows the blood to flow, and it causes us to feel ecstatic. And so that state of being, whether it's your 5-year-old child, who, of course, children have access to that flow much more readily than adults do. They skip a lot, which of course adults don't do, because they've given up that sense of daring and hope that is manifest in early childhood. So it's getting back to that sense of openness. And there's a lovely story I heard the other day that I'd love to share with your listeners, which is...
Please do.
There was a girl who was drawing in class. She was drawing in the painting class, and the teacher said, "It's time to stop now. It's the end of the class." And she said, "But I'm not finished." And the teacher said, "Yes, but you have to stop because it's the end of the class." And she said, "But I haven't finished my drawing." And the teacher said, "What are you drawing?" She said, "I'm drawing God." And the teacher said, "But nobody knows what God looks like." And the child said, "They will in a minute." Isn't that lovely? So that's the sense of wonder and openness that we love about children, and we, of course, hanker for in our own lives, because it's only in that state of wonderment, of openness, of spontaneity, of creativity, that we can actually see the next thing. The next thing is not apparent. You were talking about all those gadgets, like the iPod and the iPhone and all those wonderful things. Well, they weren't there at a certain point, and then suddenly somebody saw beyond what was the box in which we were in and saw something beyond it and was able to create it, and now we can all walk into that new possibility. And so our job as leaders is always to be looking for that which is not apparent to the people we're leading. And that's the genius of Mandela sitting in jail for 27 years. He wasn't worrying about what he had for lunch. He was thinking about what could he see about human beings that would enable not only South Africa, but for the whole world to relate in a different way. And that vision kept him going in all those dark years, 27 years sitting in jail. The belief in that, the firm belief that he could realize that dream, that is what kept him going. And what the lovely thing that Churchill said, leadership is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And what Churchill was saying was very profound. It's humorous, but what he meant was that enthusiasm, and incidentally, theo in enthusiasm is God. So whether you're religious or not is not important here. It's this notion that possibility is what leads us. And the ardor of seeing the outcome is what allowed Mandela to be in prison all those years. And it's that firm belief when Martin Luther King says, I have a dream, that's what he's talking about. So the leader is the one who dreams, who has a vision, who looks to the future, sees beyond the barriers, and then through his own practice enables other people to come with him. That's what leadership is. And it's a profound and challenging art, and it's not trivial. It has a very, very profound effect on everyday relationships, on how one treats one's children, how one relates to one's spouse, how one treats the workers in one's office, and of course at the highest level how political leaders lead. And so this art of possibility, which is what is the title of our book, but is of course not a book, it's a way of being in the world, and that's what I'm bringing to Dubai, to the leaders there, with the idea that they will walk out of that room with a new view of the world.
Mr. Zander, I want to thank you very much for joining us here on Nightline, and we look forward to welcoming you to Dubai and to hearing this and you expand upon this in your presentation at that conference, and also learning how to sing Happy Birthday as it needs to be done.
And I want to tell you, it's my first visit to the Emirates, to Dubai. I've never been, and I'm really excited. I'm actually coming for a very brief visit to Abu Dhabi this week, at the end of this week, and then I'll come back a few days later to Dubai, and I'm very, very excited. I've heard it's a wonderful place.
It would be fantastic to introduce you to the Dubai Philharmonic Orchestra. There's a small group of enthusiasts. Yeah, small group of enthusiasts, and you would love to meet them. They would love to meet you.
Well, let's see whether we can create that. Nothing would give me more pleasure.
Well, we thank you very much for joining us on the program, and we look forward to welcoming you to Dubai.
Wonderful. Thank you.